What's up, peeps? I am back for another video. Um, I was gonna do a rant, on Bel Air, like I mentioned. I'm still gonna do that, but I'm just gonna do that tomorrow. So, before I get started, I'm just gonna go through what I got planned this week. Tomorrow, I got the Bel Air video. Tuesday, I'm gonna be doing two videos. One, I'll be reviewing Tremors. It'll be the first time I've watched that movie in damn 6 or 7 years. It's been forever since I've watched that movie. I'll try to watch it. I'll watch it and then I'll just review it right after. And then later that night, I will be doing another one of those Generation Hope videos since I had fun with it last week. Then Wednesday, I'm gonna start John Wick. We're gonna start the John Wick movies finally. And then Thursday, we'll be doing RoboCop 2. And then Friday, since fortunately Bruce Willis had to retire, and I figured it was good as time as any. I've been wanting to review this movie anyway. So we're going to be doing The Fifth Element. That's an awesome movie. So that's my plans so far this week. But right now, I mean, they had announced this, I forgot how long ago they announced they were going to be doing a Crow reboot. But now they casted it yesterday. And when I saw this, I just had to do a video because The Crow, we're getting close to about a year ago since I've reviewed that movie. It is one of my favorite movies of all time, and one of the things I have said, because they actually wanted to do a remake of The Crow years ago. It was going to have Jason Momoa in it. I think they were going to do the Eric Draven story, which I think that's what they're going to do here. I don't think they're going to do a different character. I think they're just going to take the Eric Draven story and just remake it. And besides, I could always talk about, they could woke it up. I don't even really care, because that's not even my biggest gripe with it. The Crow there's so many issues. Let's start with, we are lucky that first Crow movie was as good as it was because of unfortunately, what happened with Brandon Lee. I just don't think you're not going to get that magic again. I mean, they tried to make Crow sequels, and they never worked. I've only seen parts of them. I've never seen the whole thing, but I just never thought it was ever going to work again, because The Crow worked because of a couple of reasons. I think a big reason, it came out in, still kind of the height of the grunge era. That's why you're not going to get that soundtrack again with this new one. This one, I bet it's just going to be modern bullshit music in it. And yeah, because they recently cast Alexander Skarsgård, who is a really good actor. He's the Pennywise in the newer movies. And while I like him as an actor, and I've seen some people I'll give it a chance, I don't care how good of an actor he is. I just refuse this. Because they should have taken a hint when they tried to remake it back in 2011, but then they scrapped it. I think it was around 2011 when they were going to do this. But they scrapped it because, you know what? It just isn't going to work. That first Crow movie came out in the perfect timing, in the mid-90s. Still in that grunge era, you had that aesthetic, and I just don't think you're going to get that again in a modern one. They could try their hardest, but it's just, you're not going to capture that magic again. And the other issue is, what are they going to do they're going to bring to the table that's going to be anything different? Because the Crow sequels just kind of ended up being basically just the first movie again. Because that's a common, because I had seen reviews from people who've watched those movies. And a lot of them I have heard is basically, they're just the shitty version of the first movie. And I think that's all this is just going to be again. They're just going to do the first movie, but set in modern times, probably. That's all they're going to do. And I've seen an argument but the Crow could be different people. I understand. And I understand the Crow is an actual comic book character. He's an actual character. But Brandon Lee played it so well, and just we're lucky because this is going to be a point I'm going to be bringing this up over and over again. We are lucky to have that film be as good as it fucking was with what happened, and I just don't. I think in that kind of way, they need to respect that and leave it the fuck alone, and that is what the title of this video is going to be: "Leave the Crow Alone." And I just don't really see why you need to remake it or reboot it. You're not going to bring anything new to the table. The story's already been told. The Crow sequels were not well received. Just leave it alone. I just... And I get it. There are good remakes out there. I'm not saying they don't exist, but I just think this story... it came out at the right time, and I just don't... I think that's another reason a lot of the sequels didn't work, is because they came out, like, late. I think the second one was, like, 97 or 98. It was, like, later 90s. And then the last one was, like, 05 or something. Like, it just didn't work because The Crow had that mid-90s aesthetic. And it also was a couple of years after Batman Returns and, like, the Burton movies. You're not going to have that kind of aesthetic of the city in a new one. What are they, like, I'm going to keep bringing this up. What are they going to do to bring to the table that's going to be anything different? They're probably just going to, I don't even think they're going to do a different person. I think they're just going to do the Eric Draven story, but just modernize it. I mean, yeah, we could talk about how they'll woke it up in some way, but to me, is the least of the problem. Because The Crow, with the whole thing that ended up happening with Brandon Lee anyway, I remember when I heard about them even having sequels, I was like, that's not a good idea, because with what happened, why even try sequel? They should have just left that story alone, let it be a one-off. And unfortunately, yeah, The Crow could have been a franchise if, obviously, if Brandon Lee didn't die, but trying to make it one just isn't gonna work, because I'm gonna be honest, I think to most people, The Crow is Brandon Lee. They are one and the same. And when you're gonna try to make it, that's why the new ones didn't work for most people. So I just think the sequels were a bad idea anyway. So just trying to remake it isn't gonna work. And then it wasn't gonna work because it was Jason Momoa. It was never gonna work because the idea is dumb. And I really believe that this movie, if they try to release it, I actually think this one will release this time around. I really think it's gonna flop hard, and I hope it does, because it needs to be a message that we just leave this story alone. Let it be of its time. Let it be a case of what could have been. Yeah, because The Crow could have been a really big franchise, but trying to make it one without what happened just isn't gonna work, and it never will. So leave it the fuck alone, Hollywood. And I refuse to watch it. So there's that. Tomorrow I'm gonna be going in on this Bel Air reboot, and I'm gonna talk a little bit about the story, but the story is not really the problem, because fundamentally the biggest problem with Bel Air is basically it's just a generic black drama. You could switch the names around of certain characters, and easily it could be just some drama. You don't need the whole Fresh Prince, Will Smith, all that name. And all you're going to do is just make it so generic. I'm more going to talk about what they did with the characters, because certain decisions they decided to do is just disrespectful. But I'll go more into that tomorrow. But I'm going to cheers one more time. And I'm going to say it one more time too. Leave The Crow alone. The Crow is fine the way it is. And to me, it's just one film. So, and I'm going to keep it that way. okay, I think I got one more thing to say. What another thing about that first Crow movie is the soundtrack itself. You have so many like big metal bands. Yeah, you have Pantera, you have Nine Inch Nails, Stone Temple Pilots. You're not gonna get a soundtrack like that now. You're not. You barely even get soundtracks nowadays. So, and just unfortunately, they're gonna play either bullshit hip hop, like in modern hip hop, not even good hip hop, or they'll try to do their attempt at a score. Like you can't. You're not gonna be able to have that soundtrack again. Fundamentally, because there's just not even any big bands right now that they could even use really. So just that's another reason to leave it alone. Just the soundtrack itself is even like to me like the movie is the movie, but the soundtrack is almost taking an identity of its own with how good it is, and you're not gonna get that in a new Crow movie. So just wanted to say that, but as usual, fuck Warner Brothers, fuck Disney, fuck LeBron, fuck Colin Kaepernick, fuck Seth Rogen, fuck Kevin Smith, and fuck the Biden administration. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Peace.